Hi and welcome to Danklord vs Games. My name is Kevin and today we'll be taking a look at Battle Chasers Night War, published by THQ Nordic. The game's main character Gully has lost her father Aramus to something called the Grey Line, an impenetrable wall of mist hovering over the west water stretching endlessly from north to south and towering from ocean to dark sky above. The great hero Aramus felt a calling from the Grey Line and went across despite the dangers. Like countless warriors, fugitives and fortune seekers before him, Aramus never returned. Now his daughter Gully and her diverse group of companions venture into the mist to uncover her father's last known mission. Battle Chasers offers 6 unique characters to choose from. Gully, a 9-year-old girl left with a magical pair of gloves and a responsibility greater than the size of herself. Calibretto, the last war golem of his kind sworn to protect Gully. Nolan, the almost 500-year-old mage who took Gully under his wing. Garrison, the past alcoholic blade master troubled by the death of his wife. Red Monica is the obligatory big-chested rogue, and then last but not least Alaman, a demon hunter created through crowdfunding from the Kickstarter community. You will start your journey in the desolate town of Harm's Way. After choosing 3 out of 6 heroes, you will need to equip them with items and unlock abilities as you go on your adventure. The story is discovery driven, using books, landmarks and secrets as you explore the Lost Continent. Battles takes place using turn-based combat mechanics similar to those found in Final Fantasy. Dungeons and exploration areas are played using a regular isometric 3D style reminiscent of Diablo, where enemies and traps are all visible before you swap into turn-based combat. A downside, as much as it ultimately was a positive thing, you're going to get attached to some of the characters and their unique playstyles more than others. Your party members does not gain any experience when they're left sitting in the tavern, which means you're going to need to either mix up your party frequently or leave them hanging until you feel like boosting them individually, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Crafting plays a big part in this game and you'll constantly be scavenging for materials needed to craft items, potions and enchants up until your last and final boss of the game. Fishing is an optional feature for those who wants to gather a separate currency to unlock skins and items for your party members, but there are easier ways of getting that same currency by other means than fishing. Whenever you rest in the tavern, your party members regain their health and their unique dungeon abilities reset, as well as having mobs scattered throughout the map respawn. Something I was thankful for, because in my personal playthrough I struggled quite a bit to stay up to level with the main story content, which meant I had to do repeat dungeons and do general grinding quite often. Fortunately, it was quite enjoyable despite being slightly repetitive after a certain point. The background art of the battle areas and music chosen are location based, which means you're going to listen to the same track for a while before you head off to another area with a different theme. Some of the tracks are still stuck in my head and I can only assume it's a good thing. The music itself was incredibly interesting for someone like me who's been interested in music production for quite a while. The music genre felt very strange for the aesthetics of the game. It didn't feel fitting with the gorgeous anime art style, but it started to grow on me eventually. It sort of felt like a mix of 90 BPM MPC style drums with epic strings and piano notes, combined with heavy grungy kicks. The combat was awesome, even though it's a little different to get used to in the beginning, especially after being used to Divinity's system for the past few days. The difference with the combat in this game is that each ability takes a certain amount of time to cast. Your basic attacks are instant attacks that generate overcharge, while other attacks range from very fast to slow. A slow spell would probably put you in the end of the line, while a fast spell would only be slightly delayed. The overcharge, as I previously mentioned, is a basic way for you to regain mana, or overcharge, which means you pull your mana for later use. Then some few abilities deal damage depending on how much overcharge you've stored, but they are few in between. Speaking of combat, I definitely recommend playing this game with a Rumble compatible controller, as you're going to feel the impact of each punch and ability you use. The feeling was incredibly satisfying and accurate enough to almost convince me that the punches actually were transferred through the cord of my controller. Sometimes it was a bit overpowering as some enemies deal AoE damage, making the controller act a bit spastic, but besides that, great use of the Rumble feature. As a final note, the characters are all voiced with quite decent voice acting. My only complaint is that not all dialogue is voiced. A big chunk of the dialogue taking place is completely quiet, while in other scenarios everyone's talking happily. Fortunately though, this is not the case for the comic book art style cutscenes you'll be watching before each major event. They're voiced and mixed perfectly into the game. I spent somewhere around 34 hours playing my first playthrough, and I was delighted to see a New Game Plus option, so I'll be diving into that later. I know for a fact that I kind of rushed past a bit of optional content that I never got to see. Checking through my bestiary logs, there are still a few mobs I'm missing. Some of them might be New Game Plus only, and for this next playthrough, I'll definitely take my time. So, to that final question, do I recommend this game? Absolutely. It's currently at 30 euros on Steam, and if you don't mind the fact that not everything is voiced and is a little bit of a grind, go ahead and check it out. This is Kevin at Danklord vs Games, and I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this review of Battle Chasers. If you like what I do and you want to see more, subscribe. A big thanks to my recent subscribers, thank you all very much. Once I reach 50, I should be able to get some reviews keys coming my way, which means more practice and more videos coming up. Thanks for now. Bye. Just side note, I'm sick as hell, so I'm sorry if this sounds horrible, but I'm trying to do everything I can to my best ability, basically. So, thank you. Bye-bye.